Your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit in current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. And let me remind you, if you ever have any more finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you, and you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Well, I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan to save you money. I personally work with you. Even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guest and repeat offender. Chris Bissonnette is with us. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Glad to have you with us. And to remind you, again, let's just celebrate. Can we celebrate today? I celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Now, I guess this one's more of a religious holiday, but I just look at it and celebrate. Fat Tuesday. Well, I'm trying not to be quite as fat as I was, but I don't think that's what it has to do with. I guess it's always celebrated the day before Ash Wednesday, Lent. Okay. Again, not my holiday, but I respect all who observe. And I was looking at this one, and Fat Tuesday brings Paxi Day. Now, I don't know about you. I didn't know what Paxi was. I just looked at the picture. And, the picture says 1,000 words. Looks like a jelly-filled donut or custard-filled donut. Any kind of a filled donut. So I can celebrate that one. Now, I don't know. You look at some of these things and you wonder. National Cabbage Day? Do they have Beano to go with that cabbage? I'm not sure, because cabbage can sometimes cause problems, if you know what I mean. But I like cabbage. And you know what I'm really liking more and more? My wife's got us hooked on this one, is cauliflower. Now, have you ever had cauliflower? So I'm sure you've heard of buffalo wings. Mm-hmm. Buffalo fried cauliflower. Now that's a good one too. All that fried stuff, though, doesn't go very well with my diet. 124 pounds down now. But, I can, and I guess that Paxi doesn't go. But what's a fun thing to do? And it's just a sign of respect. So for years and years, my wife and I have decided that, from Ash Wednesday throughout all of Lent, we actually indulge in going to various churches in the community for their fish fries. Friday night fish fry. It's a fundraiser for them, and some of them are good. Some of them is like Vandicam.
They do a big one in Costa Mesa every year.
Do they really? Is it every Friday, or is it just?
No, once during the summer.
Wait a second. That wouldn't be a fish fry for Lent.
Not for Lent.
Okay.
Just annual fish fry.
Okay. So, that would be kind of like being in May when we go to Yorba Linda Rotary's Lobster Fest. That's another one. But the fish fries are just because of fun. It's during Lent. We end up going in there and enjoying the company of people there. And it's like I say, it's a fundraiser for the various churches. So, we go and indulge and have a good time. I guess I shouldn't be talking about food so much, but I do anyway. Let's see what the markets are doing today. Do we want to see what the markets are doing today? They've been a big roller coaster today.
They're up today.
Yeah, we got the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Finally, it's up 61 points. Earlier in the day, it was down. The NASDAQ is down 16. The S&P 500 is up 3. Oil's down 68 cents a barrel. And gold. Did I tell you? Gold is down $122 an ounce at 48.68. Now, why is that? Well, it's kind of like, and I don't follow this one at all, but, I do a little bit. Bitcoin, have you been watching Bitcoin?
Yes.
Talk about that one has been going south. Why? Well, I'm going to tell you why. And again, I don't give financial advice. I used to be licensed to do these things, but I am not licensed any longer. So I am not giving financial advice. I'm just sharing one person's personal opinion. As Bitcoin got so popular, there are a lot of ETFs that were out there, and they were leveraging the heck out of their purchases of Bitcoin. Now, if you understand the markets, when you start leveraging, and if you leverage too much, you know what happens when a product, an item that you've leveraged goes from 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, 100,000, 110,000, and then back down to 70,000? It's something called a margin call. And as margin calls happen, well, what ends up happening is you end up getting called out of the stock or the holding at any price there is. They don't care. You're getting called, and they're liquidating. And the more they liquidate, well, guess what? That means more supply. And if supply increases, if the demand isn't there, they're going to see the price collapse. So right now we're seeing Bitcoin down $343 a coin, 67.5 right now. It had been, it was well over 100,000 at one point.
Wasn't it close to 120?
Yeah, I don't have. I have it on my screen, but for some reason it's not giving me.
I think it was close to 120.
Yeah, you would probably know better than I would. But I said the same thing. If you were listening to Ron Siegel Radio, it's only a couple weeks ago that I was saying to you, if it was me, again, I don't give financial advice, but as gold got up to $5,100, $5,200 an ounce, and it had been at $2,700 last January, it just seemed to me like, something that which goes up that quickly can go back down that quickly. Hello, GameStop. Now, I don't say that gold is the same as GameStop. There's something that's foundational there, but that people start leveraging it, and they start leveraging it too much, and you got to be careful. I'm just throwing that out there for you.
The Pokemon market's doing well.
Yeah, and again, another one that's really, really great, right? Another thing that I would not even invest my neighbor's money in.
Did you see that card went for yesterday?
Well, $5 million.
So Logan Paul purchased the Pikachu Illustrator for $5 million 3 years ago, and it sold, I believe, yesterday for $16.4 million.
Whoa!
So most expensive card to ever sell. So the Pokemon market actually beats all other asset categories as far as investment returns over the last 10 years. It's kind of crazy.
That is crazy. Whew. Well, something, we're going to get back into talking about the markets. Chris Bissonnette is here with us today. He is the FAFSA Pro. So if you've been thinking about, or if you've got a child going to college anytime soon, grandchild going to college anytime soon, you're going to want to stay tuned and listen to some of the very, very interesting information that Chris has to talk about. And I want to also suggest, hey, maybe you want to just tell us where you're tuning in from. And you may want to give us a like if you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials. Give us a like, give us some love. We appreciate it. It helps the algorithm let us know you're here. We'll talk about move-up buyers who are choosing new construction. And I'm going to share with you some Social Security secrets that maybe you never heard of before. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel lending team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel lending team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452. You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com/mobile app, and every day at this time, OBMMI. They provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual lock rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They do not tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They tell us the number you need to put in your mortgage calculator to determine your principal and interest payments. If you don't have a mortgage calculator, no problem. rsrlinks.com/calculators. rsrlinks.com/calculators. We put together a suite of 64 different calculators. Yes, one of them is the mortgage calculator. One of them is also a financial independence retirement early calculator. Very, very cool calculator. We're going to be featuring that to professionals later this week. Very cool calculator. They're all there for you. They're all free. What did the rates do on Friday? Yesterday, the markets were closed. Conventional 30-year fixed, 5.976. That was down. Jumbo 30-year fixed, 6.201. That was up. FHA 30-year fixed, 5.90. That was down. VA 30-year fixed, 5.589. That was down. And the USDA 30-year fixed, 5.831. That one was up. And yes, we're still talking about the best loan on the market. It's the Wealth Builder loan. And the effective interest rate, about 1.7 is the last one that I ran a scenario on. 1.7%, and your loan is paid off in about 7 or 8 years. Just throw that out there for you because so many people still like, hey, I want that 30-year fixed rate loan. And I say, that's cool. As long as you know that you're paying a lot of money extra for it, that's good. Let's see why are the markets doing? What are the markets doing? Let's take a look at that first. So we've got the S&P 500 is now down 1.95. Market is turning south right now. We've got the 10-year Treasury, which is something that I watch very, very closely because that is an indicator for mortgage rates. 4.05. That's down it's up a little bit now. Okay, that yield is up now a little bit. The mortgage bond, pretty flat also. That one's down 2 basis points, but it's been doing really, really well, and that's been why we're seeing these rates going the way they're going. So why is this happening? What's driving it? Well, there's not a whole lot going on, especially because it's hard for us to deal with too much going on. Why? Because we get government reports. And if you watch closely, and don't just follow the headlines, watch closely, the markets move on government headlines, and then the government comes back a month or 2 or 6 months later and tells you, we didn't know what we were talking about, and we gave you all bad data. Here's the first of it. The BEA is still behind the government shutdown, so they will be releasing their December report. Even if the figures are a little higher, the market reaction may be muted as we've already had the January CPI report released, which showed 2.5% core year-over-year inflation. Last reading for PCE for November, we're in February, and they're talking about November data, was 2.8% year-over-year for both headline and core. Market is expecting 0.3% in December. For the headline, 0.2% to 0.3% for the core. That means the market is expecting headline to remain at 2.8% and for core to either be unchanged at 2.8 or rise to 2.9. Shelter healthcare will play a role as always. But again, remember, it's December data. Welcome to the United States government. They give us old data and then the markets move on it.
Idiot.
Unbelievable.
Idiot.
Talking about bad data. Well, we got the BLS report, the jobs report last week, ADP released their weekly employment report showing that private employers added an average of 10,250 jobs per week in the 4 weeks ended January 31st. Pace is around 41,000 jobs. Still not very good, but more realistic than what the government said on the Wednesday report last week, that there was 170-some thousand jobs created in the private sector. Think about that. It's bogus that they use this birth-death model that, I guess on a scale of 1 to 10, their birth-death model is a 0. Unbelievable. Previous reading was revised slightly higher from 6,500 jobs a week to 7,750. Still weak. This week, we're going to get housing starts, durable goods orders, the Fed minutes on Wednesday, jobless claims and pending home sales on Thursday. And yes, we do get that PCE report on Friday as well as the Q4 GDP and new home sales. That's what we've got for the week. Not a whole lot of great data, but the market will still move on that PCE, even though it's old and worthless. But let's talk about something that's not old and not worthless. We're talking about college planning, and we've got the college planner guru in studio. Chris Bissonnette is with us. Welcome, Chris.
Yes, thank you. Nice to be back.
So anything new going on, I guess, in the big, beautiful bill? And there's always something new in college financial planning, especially when we come to the idea that so many of us are limited, right? We're limited to, we only know what we know. We don't know what we don't know. So we need somebody like you to come in and share with us, some of the insights that, the market just doesn't ever, we don't know where to go to even get this information.
Yes. Well, there's very few people around the country who really deal with the FAFSA.
Okay, let's explain FAFSA first so that we...
Yeah, so FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. So when families are going to college, they can file the FAFSA, and then that allows them to qualify for federal money, such as a Pell Grant. They also qualifies them for state money, which is a Cal Grant, and then also money from the school, which is a scholarship and or a grant from the school. So it opens up those three. It also allows someone to do work study, which is working on campus, as well as federal student loans. So essentially, it's a lot of different pieces, and many people don't know that. They think it's just loans. And then you can earn up to $400,000 of adjusted gross income and qualify for need-based aid at some schools. So most people don't know that either. They think, oh, we make, $100,000 a year. You make $300,000 a year, you're going to get a ton of need-based aid if you go to the right schools.
Okay, so then I guess that's where, being that you threw that out there, what would qualify as the right school?
Schools that have large endowments, more of your private colleges, give a lot of money. So, for example, the retail price at a school here, USC, could be $100,000 a year, but the net price might be 60 or 70 or 50,000. You can go to Princeton, who does a real good job with their financial aid. If you make $300,000 a year and you go to Princeton, which is like $90,000 a year, I believe your net cost is about $25,000.
Wow. Okay. So it's still a lot of money, but so are there strategies to help us get that down even more?
Yes, there's a lot of things that people can do. For the FAFSA and the CSS profile, some schools use the CSS profile as well. It has two main factors. They look at income and assets. So if you can get your adjusted gross income lower and not show a lot of liquid assets, then you'll qualify for more financial aid.
So does my house count as assets?
That's a good question. Residential real estate counts at some schools, like the net equity. Some schools count it at 100%, some at 25%. Any school that uses just the FAFSA, they don't count home personal residence. But some schools that use the CSS profile, such as USC and some of these other type of schools, they can count the equity against you for their formula.
So what, and maybe this is getting a little too technical, but we talk about the idea of how to save money on taxes, and one of the big ones under the big beautiful law was, accelerated depreciation. If I get a lot of accelerated depreciation and that brings my adjusted gross income down, is that going to help me with my qualification numbers?
Absolutely. The AGI is the main factor that schools use to determine eligibility. The challenge
Anything
is
that's above that AGI number is what we're looking for.
Yeah, you want to just the goal is to have when you're going to college, you literally, if you can, you want to look like you're coming in on fumes, like a low income, low assets. Now, there are some programs out there. Some companies offer deferred compensation plans as part of their benefits package. So if people do it early enough, like when this child's a sophomore in high school, then they can kind of lower their AGI when they get to college. So there are strategies out there. They're a little more advanced. I do a lot of focus on moving the liquid assets before we file the FAFSA. And then that also brings down, it's called the student aid index. It brings down that factor so people qualify for more aid.
So we want to get them out of liquid assets. Now, I talk a lot about buy, borrow, die. Right? That's one of our latest mantras. So if there's things that is the FAFSA or for college, are they going to force me to borrow money if it's something that's an illiquid asset?
No, I mean, they're not going to force you to borrow, but you can. I mean, I try not to focus much on the loans. Everything I do is really focus on need-based grants, trying to set up the family to qualify for sometimes the Pell Grant, the Cal Grant, and then grants through the school.
So are we talking then in that case, are we talking really that we need to be looking more into insurance type products so that we don't, I know you were not going to give any financial advice, but where can I invest so that I don't look too liquid for the schools so I can maximize my grant money is what we want, not loan money, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So there's only two places that no school looks at. One is going to be a retirement account. So any money in your 401k and IRAs, those don't count against you in any formula. And cash value life insurance also doesn't count against you in any formula. So if you have money, you could have $10 million in those two and then still qualify for a ton of need-based aid.
Oh, so that sounds like a little hint right there. Okay. So we're going to continue our conversation. Maybe we'll talk about business owners. Do we have is business owners going to be affected? And can you help me with the FAFSA? All that kind of good stuff. We're going to talk more with Chris Bissonnette when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. You can reach me anytime. Off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Move-up buyers are choosing new construction. At some point, a house that once felt perfect just doesn't anymore. Maybe you need more space. Maybe working from home turned your dining room into a permanent office. Maybe the layout just doesn't match how you live now. If your current house is starting to feel like it's holding you back instead of supporting your life, it's natural to think about making a move. But that brings up the next big question. Once you sell, where do you go? For a growing number of buyers, the answer is something brand new. According to the National Association of Realtors, more people are buying new homes than have in years. The latest annual data available shows 16% of homes purchased were newly built. First glance, you may not see why that's a big deal. That's actually the highest share of new home purchases in almost 2 decades. For many buyers, especially move-up buyers, new construction isn't just about aesthetics. It's about lifestyle, convenience, and peace of mind. Number one, everything is brand new. You're not inheriting someone else's projects. No wondering how old the roof is. No budgeting for a new HVAC system or air conditioning system after moving. No big surprises when the previous owner's patch job fails. For move-up buyers who've been dumping money into updating their current house, that's a win. Number two, you can customize before you move in. If you choose a home that's still under construction, you could have the chance to pick the flooring, counters, cabinets, hardware, lighting, and so much more. That level of personalization can be a draw for move-up buyers like you because it allows you to handpick the fit that finishes you've been wanting for so long. Number three, a home designed for how people live today. Most new construction homes are built to current building standards and buyer preferences, which means you could see built-in smart home features, better energy efficiency, which can lower utility bills, and even more modern floor plans and features. And if your layout just isn't working for you anymore, you may find exactly what you need now in a new home. Number four, neighborhood amenities. New developments often include shared community spaces like walking trails, parks, playgrounds, or even pools and gyms. For families and active households, that's a big bonus to have that just a few steps out the front door. Number five, builder incentives. Not to mention, since there are more new homes on the market than the norm, builders are motivated to sell what they have, so you may find they're more willing to negotiate than you'd expect on things like price upgrades and more. Don't forget, this is where the buy down comes in. rsrlinks.com/buy down. rsrlinks.com/buy down. It also is where, believe it or not, home renovation loans. Builders don't generally even talk about this because they don't offer them. How about a home renovation loan on that new build so we can overfinance the property? Say it's a $600,000 new build and you want a loan for $650,000. Well, we get a budget set up for the items that you're going to have done: hardscape, landscape, wall coverings, window coverings, upgrades, all those things that maybe the builder hasn't included. In the home renovation loan, it's all possible. Bottom line, if your current house isn't meeting your needs anymore, don't assume your only choice is an existing home. New construction is becoming a real contender, especially for move-up buyers who want space, features, and a home that works for how they live now. Curious whether new construction might be a fit for you? Give me a call before you go look at that new building complex. Do not ever, 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 ever give the new building complex your name without being represented by a real estate agent. Then they won't pay the agent, and you have no representation for you unless you pay for it out of your pocket. So don't give them your name. If you're going there, your name is Mickey Mouse at onedisney.com, something like that, whatever. That's the real-time real estate segment brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Continuing our conversation, Chris Bissonnette is with us. We are talking about college financial planning, and we're talking about the FAFSA. That is I talk all the time. The certificate of eligibility is what we refer to in the world of Veterans Administration in VA loans as the golden ticket. I would submit the word or the acronym FAFSA is probably the golden ticket when it comes to dealing with college financial planning and how to get the maximum amount from your college and then from what you're already paying in. And I've talked really a lot about this concept that, there are the college pricing, and Chris, you're going to know the numbers way better than I would know them. But the pricing on colleges got way out of whack and I'm going to submit, they've been growing and growing and growing. They're massive now. But under the Bush administration, when they stopped making the student loans dischargeable in bankruptcy, and then the Obama administration, when they federalized the student loans, all of that made it easy because there's no repercussions. There's no consequences. for raising the prices because parents and the kids are not going to get out of it. So, I'm just throwing that out there. I think that's why was an impetus. Do you see any turn in pricing? Are the schools still going crazy on prices?
I mean, they've still gone up. I mean, I started doing this 9 years ago. I think SC, I like referencing them because they're local here. They were $72,000 a year. I think now they're like 103.
Wow.
So I think it's about a 30% increase over the last 5 years. Pepperdine's 107,000 a year. So some schools now across the country are over 100,000 a year. And as you know, in California, you've got to probably earn 140,000 to net 100. So it's someone's annual income. So it puts a lot of pressure on families.
So the whole idea here is to get in touch with you early to try and to navigate these things.
Yeah. So ideally, people say, when should you start doing financial planning for college? Sophomore in high school. And the reason being, there's a 2-year look back on income. So that's really ideally when you want to start at least putting a plan together on how you're going to pay for college.
Are talking about that at all?
Not really. I mean, the thing with the schools is they don't file the FAFSA. So when people go to a school workshop on the FAFSA, it's usually very general information. Like, here's the due dates, here's when to file, but they're not teaching them strategy, what to put on, in the answers, how to reposition assets, et cetera.
So, I looked at the FAFSA when my kids were going to school. My son was going to school. And this is what, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, something like that. And it looked almost like a tax return to me, the way they have. And at that time, there was somebody that said they would fill it out for me. And I think they'd charge me $125 or whatever. And I said, that's the way to do it, just because, I don't understand it. Is there some place you can go now to have somebody help you with these things?
Yes. I mean, there's a few of us around the country. You'd have to hire a FAFSA expert like myself. But yeah, it's kind of promoted as doing it yourself. And the challenge I explain to people, it's like, if you had a $100,000 tax bill, are you going to TurboTax or are you going to use a CPA? Well, most of the time you're going to use a professional because they know some intricacies and some things they can do to get that number down. There's just very few of us around the country. So a lot of times when people Google me, they'll be like, "Oh, I didn't know that this service was available." So I focus a lot on referrals for that reason.
So, I looked in, one of the things I saw that was in the big, beautiful law now was that there's some FAFSA relief for business owners. And I don't know if this is something that you've come across in the past, but they were talking about the idea that small businesses and family farm values no longer included in the FAFSA aid calculation.
Yeah. So what happened was a couple of years ago, if you had a small business, 100 employees or less, it's not counted on the FAFSA. And then about 2 or 3 years ago, they added it on, saying if you have 0 employees or more, we need the value of the business. Then starting this year, they took it back off. So they had never had it on there. Then they added it, and now they took it back off because I'm sure people were complaining about it.
Well, I mean, how do you value a business unless you're trying to sell it?
I mean, there's business valuation services and there's some calculators online, but the problem that I see when people value their business or their real estate, they price it incorrectly on the FAFSA and literally cost themselves a lot of money in the way they do it.
Okay, so give us the inside baseball, Chris. Valuing your personal residence. I mean, I've had some families recently that I've helped that, they inherited properties, or their mom and dad have lived in a property for 40 or 50 years. They're in there with mom and dad now. And, we look at all the time when we're looking at owner equivalent rent, when we're talking about the CPI and the PCE numbers, and the people that live in a house, generally, they kind of guess what their house is worth. And more often than not, they guess high.
Yeah. What I see is people put the for real estate, especially, like if they have some rental properties, they always put what the value is minus what they owe. But you can do the tax assessed value minus what you owe. And as you know, that number can be dramatically different. So I've helped a lot of people just with that, like amending the FAFSA and then changing those to the tax assessed value. And then literally they qualify for aid within a month.
That's an interesting concept because, Prop 13 and then Prop 19 made it harder to keep the assessed value if you're taking over mom and dad's property once as an inheritance. But we just helped a family that had a property valued, I think, at $1.1 million, but the tax assessment is at like $35,000 because they've owned it for 50 years.
Yeah, normally, something like that might be like $700,000 and the house worth $1 million. But on some older properties, yes, you see that. So that's a big one that I do with clients. And I probably almost every time, if someone has completed a FAFSA, you can't amend it. And almost every time if someone's completed a FAFSA and they have real estate, we end up amending it because they're putting the values too high.
So then how does that work how does that work on the next step then? If you're amending the FAFSA and you've already got your award letter, then do you have to go back to the school again, or
what happens is the information that you submit on the FAFSA, and you can do up to 20 schools, that gets resubmitted to the colleges, and then they can redo their award letter based off that.
Okay, but the question is, I know they can, but will they, or do you have to go fight?
I mean, normally they'll do it. However, there is something called an appeal, or I call it financial reconsideration, where once a school gives you an award
Hold that
letter.
thought.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about that when we come back.
Okay.
The appeal process. We can actually appeal to the school. They're going to give me something. I'm going to say, no, I want more.
Yes.
Let's talk to Chris Bissonnette on how that works. When we come back, you're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Also going to talk about some Social Security secrets, what they don't tell you at age 62. Again, off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio, or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Borrow Smart segment today being brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com, GetHomeSelect.com. If someone told you there was a way to collect more from Social Security starting next month legally without filing any new application, would you want to know about it? Because that option exists for a lot of people listening right now. I am Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. And today, we're talking about Social Security in a way your neighbor, your accountant, and maybe even your financial advisor have never explained to you. Let's start with something that surprises almost everyone. If you're still working after you start collecting Social Security, your monthly benefit can actually go up. Here's why. Social Security Administration calculates your benefit based on your 35 highest earning years. If you're working now and making more than you did in any one of those years, they replace the lower year with the higher one. Your check gets recalculated. That's not a loophole. That is how the system was designed. Most people just do not know to ask about it. They don't do it unless you ask. So what does this mean for you? If you claimed early and went back to work, do not assume your benefit is locked in forever. It may not be. Now, here's one of the catches a lot of family off guard, especially older parents. If you're receiving Social Security retirement benefits and you have a child under the age of 18, that child may be eligible for their own benefit check based on your record. We're talking up to 50% of your full retirement benefit paid to your child without reducing your check by one penny. For families where a parent had children later in life, this can add significant money to the household budget every single month. And speaking of family situations, let's talk about divorced spouses for a moment. If you were married for at least 10 years and you're currently unmarried, you may be able to claim benefits based on your ex-spouse's work record. Your ex does not need to know. It has zero impact on their benefit, and if your own work record is smaller, this could meaningfully change your monthly income in retirement. Here's another one that affects a group of people who really got the short end of the stick for years. Teachers, firefighters, government employees. Many of them were penalized under old rules called the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. Basically, because their pension came from a job that did not pay into Social Security, their benefit was reduced, sometimes dramatically. That changed. Social Security Fairness Act repealed those penalties, and the SSA has been issuing retroactive payments going back to January of 2024. If you or someone you know was affected by those rules and you have not seen an adjustment to your benefit, it is worth requesting a review. Money may be sitting there waiting for you. Now, before I go any further, I want to connect the dots here because this is where my world and Social Security planning meet. When families are figuring out their retirement picture, most of the focus goes to the asset side of the ledger, 401k, savings account, the house, and that is understandable. But the liability side of the household budget matters just as much. What you owe, what you pay each month, and how that interacts with fixed income like Social Security determines whether retirement actually feels like retirement. I look at everything through safety, liquidity, and return. Social Security is one of the safest income streams a family can have. The question is whether you are positioned to get the most out of it strategically, and that means looking at the whole picture, not just the rate on your mortgage or the balance in your IRA. If you want to take an honest look at where your financial house stands right now, start at rsrlinks.com/key steps, rsrlinks.com/key steps. It'll walk you through the foundational pieces every family should have in order before, during, and after retirement. And while we're on the subject of protecting what you've built, I want to mention something that ties directly into this conversation. A lot of families put decades of work into building their estate, their home, their savings, their legacy, and they do nothing to protect it, or they try to handle it themselves with an online form. And I'll tell you, the cost of doing that wrong can be staggering. Probate alone can eat tens of thousands of dollars that were meant for your kids or grandkids. If you want to connect with estate planning professionals who can help you make sure your plan actually works the way you intend, go to rsrlinks.com/estate. That's rsrlinks.com/estate. These are attorney supervised services, and we can point you in the right direction. Remember, strategy beats rate always, and that applies to Social Security just as much as it applies to your mortgage. I am Ron Siegel, your certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Thanks for listening to the Borrow Smart segment, brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com, GetHomeSelect.com. Continuing our conversation, Chris Bissonnette is with us. He is the FAFSA pro, the FAFSA guru. And before the break, if you missed it, shame on you. But we were starting to talk about appeals. Chris, talk about appeals. What does that mean?
Yeah, so once you receive an award letter from the school, and some parents never see it because it's in the student portal, but it'll break down what the cost of attendance is, minus any grants, scholarships, loans, what the parent's supposed to pay. So you'll kind of have what's called your net cost. You can go back to the school and you can ask for more money, called an appeal, or I call it financial reconsideration. And when families appeal, it generates more money 70% of the time.
70%. So that's almost like a given. You've got to do it. You got to know how to do it, right?
You got to know how to do it. Well, number one, most people don't even know it exists. People at schools don't even know it exists. But yes, you've got to do it right. Ideally, know what the numbers are. If you go back and say, woe is me, I need more money, that may or may not work. But if you come back, because I have software that shows what the schools are supposed to give, and so I can give a very specific, what we're looking for. And I've gone from a school giving $8,000 for the year in a grant to $41,000 by writing a letter.
8,000 to 41
for 1 year. Yeah.
Wow. So are you still able to get to a point where going to one of these private schools that have big endowments is cheaper than going to a local state school or community school?
Yeah. So what's interesting is Orange Coast College, your alma mater, they actually now have dorms. And so the cost of attendance, it shows on my software, is like $30,000 a year. So when I show a family making $300,000 a year with a lot of assets, it is cheaper to go to Princeton, MIT, University of Chicago than it is to go to Orange Coast College.
Okay, now throw my real alma mater in there at Chapman University. How's it compared to them?
Chapman's pretty good on the aid. I think right now they're close to about $100,000 a year, and they do they use the FAFSA, not the CSS profile, and they give scholarships and grants. Some of the more Ivy League type schools only will give a grant, so they do a good job with the aid. I have students that get $40,000-$50,000 a year in free money to go to Chapman.
That's a lot of money to go to, number one, it's a lot of money to still have to pay, but it's a lot of money to go there. Especially for a quality, I'll say a quality school. Should we talk about your alma mater there?
Arizona State?
Yeah. How do they fit in?
Arizona State, any of these out-of-state schools, UC Boulder, Arizona State, they're like $60,000 a year, and you get no money. Literally, they have no money to give you. The only money you're going to get is from the federal government in a Pell Grant.
And in Arizona State, that's $60,000 a year plus the party fees, right?
Yes, it's not as much of a party school as it used to be when I went there, but it's
so
still,
now you can only party
it's,
6 days a week.
It's still a fun. People still really enjoy it. But the one that I really see a lot is UC Boulder. So many people go to UC Boulder, and literally on my list, it's the most expensive school, and they're really disappointed because it's $60,000 a year to go out of state to this the state school.
Wow. So that's kind of an interesting one as well. So
it's very popular. Yeah.
So what are some of the, give us, I like story time. Give us an idea, recent. I know when you were on, a year or so ago, you were talking about a couple of schools in New York area, but give us some recent successes that people are seeing and in the repositioning world.
So this was a great family I got introduced to. And I remember they were panicked because they had 3 kids going to college, and they listed the schools they were going to. They were all Ivy League. They were all like $70,000, $80,000 a year. It's about 5 years ago. One got into USC, one got into Johns Hopkins, and one got into Berkeley. And their income wasn't too high, but they had a lot of liquid assets, like $2 million. We ended up repositioning the assets, and I remember the mom was like, "This better work." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm hoping it does work." I think USC, we ended up getting altogether like $60,000 in grants and scholarships. Johns Hopkins was $82,000. I think we got $70,000 in grants and scholarships. Oh. And then Berkeley was, I think, like $38,000 or $40,000, and we got like $38,000 or $40,000, 100% in grants and scholarships.
That sounds like about $170,000 right there.
Yeah, so this family will get between probably $300,000 to $400,000 in free money for college for their 3 boys because they followed my strategy.
It's a lot of money. Now, let me ask you this, being that this is a home and finance show. So when you're talking about the FAFSA, are you looking at the property value, as you described it earlier, less the liens,
the net value? Yes.
So if somebody has, $1 million property and they have no lien on it, then they're going to have to take a loan against it because that's going to really push them out of whack. Is that it?
Well, the FAFSA doesn't count home residence. So primary residence. So you're only looking at schools. If you had, let's say, a lot of equity in a primary residence, there's only 1% of schools count it. Where I see that issue is really on rental properties because they count a rental property as an investment. People always put way too high what the value is minus what they owe.
So even though they don't have a lot of, it's not liquid, they still have to.
They count it as an investment, like it's money in your checking account.
Like money in your checking account.
That's the same category. Investment is checking, savings, money in a brokerage account, and any value inside of real estate. And again, I always just see the wrong numbers when I go through that with people. People always put their 401k and their IRAs in the investments section. These do not go there. I see it all the time. And I'm just like, it's a little disappointing because they make the FAFSA, the questions are so vague that people put the wrong information. Literally, you're getting no aid for the next 4 years in the way you answer these questions.
So if you want more information on how to do this the right way, you got to give me a call at 800-306-1990. 800-306-1990 so that we can put you in touch with Chris Bissonnette, and you can actually learn the right way to manage your money, to maximize the money that you should be getting anyway. These schools have the money. They're just not giving it away unless you know how to fill out the forms properly. So give me a call at 800-306-1990. And as always, I ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean for engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.